Hi all, good evening. My name is Shawn. Uh, I was just saying, if you have not had dinner yet, feel free to have your dinner while tuning into this webinar. If you are if you're feeling friendly, do go ahead and say hi in the chat box. Today I'll be sharing about this topic called Adulting 101, Planning It Right. And this is a topic that I'm really excited to share about. And this particular talk, I think we are going to focus a little bit more on young working adults, especially those of us who are in their 20s, in their 30s. You have started work within the last 10 years. I think this particular topic, was crafted, specifically for you. Hence, you'll find that many of this content I'll be sharing relates to you. But, if you don't happen to fall within that profile, if you're 40s and above, you may also find some of this content relevant for you. And what I'll be doing this evening over the next 1 hour is that I'll be sharing, I think, very simple, actionable steps, I think, that one can take, especially for young working adults, to plan for your finances. And many of these are simple ones that we can take, do so easily. So we are going to cover lots of breadth. We are not going to do a deep dive into a lot of technical numbers because this is not what this talk is meant to be, but really to take a longer term view of how financial planning, how do we view financial planning, how financial planning should be really like, especially at this stage of your life. And then you can kick on, I think more importantly, to kick on after this 1 hour to start doing further planning for yourself. Okay, and to begin, do allow me to provide a quick introduction about MoneyOwl, the team behind this webinar. So at MoneyOwl, we are Singapore's first bionic financial advisor. And by bionic, we mean that we want to make the best use of technology, where we use technology to integrate complex financial models into our clients' financial plans. At the same time, we think that when it comes to financial planning, the human part is still very important. So that's where at MoneyOwl, for all of our clients, we have a dedicated human advisor, where the human advisor there is there to understand the worries, the aspirations of our clients, really to be there for our clients throughout their entire life journey so that they can navigate all these life decisions that they have to make to achieve their life goals. And what this means is that at MoneyOwl, for our clients, to get the best of both worlds, both the technology part as well as the human wisdom part, so that they have the highest probability of achieving their goals. On top of that, at MoneyOwl, we are also very proud, and it's something that we want to do as well, to provide for conflict-free financial advice. So that's where at MoneyOwl, all of our advisors here, including myself, who happens to be the lead of the client advisory team, we are all salary-based, and we do not take commissions. And we feel that really in this model, our clients can feel very assured in terms of seeking advice from us. And what we want to do is to be a comprehensive financial planner and to integrate with national schemes. So at MoneyOwl, we provide for insurance solutions from various insurance providers where we compare and we recommend what's best value for our clients. And also with insurance, we do provide a 50% commission rebate to lower the cost of getting insurance for them. At MoneyOwl, we have an online investment platform as well, where we distribute for low-cost, globally diversified funds. We do have a digital will writing platform as well. That's complimentary for Singaporeans to write a simple will. And we have a comprehensive financial planning service as well, where we look across all of these areas to put them all together into a financial plan, because we are all, all of us always balancing all these different moving parts all the time. It's important to put all of them together. More importantly as well, see how CPF works for us, because, we actually put a big part of our savings into CPF. For those of us whom are employed, our employers contribute to our CPF as well. It plays a pretty big part in our retirement, but CPF can be very complex to understand. It's important that we put that together in terms of our planning, and we project that for our clients. Finally, at MoneyOwl, we have been doing decades of doing good and doing right, and through our parentage, of a joint venture between NTUC Social Enterprise and Provident, where we are here really to help, the mass and the people on the streets ready to manage their monies better and help them to lead more fulfilling lives. So that's a quick snapshot of what MoneyOwl is about. So what are we going to talk about tonight? So tonight, we're going to start off about why is there a need to plan, especially if you're a young working adult, or even your 30s, you may have started working for 10 years already. Why is it important to plan? I think for most of us, who have taken time to join this webinar here, I appreciate your time. I mean, it shows that you probably, you understand the need to plan, but perhaps there are probably more reasons than you may have thought of, about why is there a need to plan. Secondly, I'll be sharing about some hacks to personal finance, which I feel some steps that can be easily done and some steps that you can continue to take throughout your own financial journey. And when all of this are done, it can set you on a strong foundation towards planning for all other aspects of your financial area of your life. And finally, I also be just wrapping things up about covering actually what are the most important ingredients when it comes to financial wellness. Okay, so let's dive straight in. So why is there a need to plan? So if we look across, about our whole and this timeline that we see over here, and let's assume that we are all now down here on the left-hand side. Okay, and then we go through life. We hit mid-30s, we hit mid-50s, and then sometime around age 85, which is the current life expectancy, maybe pass on. But from now till then, let's try and look ahead to see, what lives bring us. And for some of us here who are young working adults, or if you have graduated just a few years ago, remember the time, when you first finished school, and then you have graduated. Right after that, we have started working, and I think we all always remember that first big paycheck that we are receiving, because knowing how to manage the sum of money also take, I remember it being very memorable for ourselves. But I think somehow management, because never have we before in our life learned how to manage money. Yeah, but at the same time, with that paycheck coming in, we are going to support your parents as well. And most of us are in what we call a sandwich generation, right? Yeah, where we are supporting our parents still. And then there is children that will come, later on in our life. Soon enough, whether you are married or not, whether you have engaged or not, or whether you're a girlfriend or boyfriend or not, for most of us, we will find a life partner. And sometimes, when it comes to love, we can't really plan for, right? We may find the right partner come along the way. Marriage will then come. Yeah, and that actually could take place sooner than we think. If we graduate, for most of us, in the early 20s, marriage actually comes soon our way. We then purchase our first house, where we are expected to set aside and plan few hundred, put away few $100,000 over our lifespan for our first housing. We have our first kid that will also come, and then maybe a second kid. And we see all of these events coming along the way. They all happen between now, assuming most of us, if we are in our mid-20s, late 20s, and by mid-30s to late 30s, we would see that for most people, we have all gone through all of these milestones. Yeah, but actually, what else? What else is there? Let's look at it. Okay, so sometime later on, for some of us, we may want to consider further studies, where we perhaps either pursue a degree, or we could pursue a specialization that we like to delve further into, a certification that we want to go for, or maybe even masters. We may, at that in some point of time future, shift to our second house. Yeah, it could be a second HDB, it could be a condominium for some of us, it could be a private property. And then, fast track later on, you'll see that our children will then start graduating. Have, over here we have a first kid graduating, the second kid, having to enter university and graduate as well. And we see, across life, there's a lot of things that is happening ahead. But apart from this, actually, what else? Yeah, what else actually lies ahead? Yeah, when it comes to planning for? Perhaps, for most people, we may start for planning for 2 kids, which are, most people tend to have, either stop at 1 and stop at 2. But for some of us, perhaps, after having 2, we'll consider maybe baby 3 or baby 4. These are some financial decisions that could come later on. Perhaps, for some of us whom are parents here, this is some of the thoughts that come to our mind. What about caregiving? Yeah, and for some of us, we may make that decision about perhaps, having a one stay-at-home parent, only one working. How about providing for our children? Yeah, perhaps for some of us, we had the opportunity to go for overseas education, or we, want to provide for, the opportunity for our kids to go overseas to study. Yeah, perhaps that's another one that we have to, plan ahead sometime down the road. Or perhaps, we could be supporting kids in their strengths and talents. Perhaps they are really, really good in their particular sport. Yeah, or they are particularly good in, it could be singing or dancing perhaps, and they are really good at that. Yeah, perhaps, then we have to set aside finances to, to want to support them in their strengths and even in academics as well. How about for ourselves, pursuing a hobby along the way, fulfilling a dream, for some of us, it could be a car. Yes, it could be, traveling to Africa, for example. It could be traveling to Korea, for example, a particular country that we want to go for and to, to fulfill that. Yeah. And what about achieving financial independence as well? And along the way, while, some of these things, we could see that some of this will come up, but along the way, we yet still have to cater for medical emergencies, which could happen to either ourselves, our children, or our parents, and even financial emergencies as well, right? Sometimes, when our relatives, we all may have, ourselves or relatives who may have that financial emergency, which we want to help. So the purpose of really, sharing about this is to share with all of us that there's a lot that lies ahead in life. And when it comes to financial planning and thinking about planning, perhaps, it's about thinking about all these decisions that we have to make first, and then see how we can plan our finances in order to support these life decisions. And what is happening now is, all of us are living longer. That means we have many more years to plan for. If we start planning it right, there's a chance of us, doing right for many more years. Yeah, and things will go better. But if we do plan wrong, then at some point of time, we do find a need to be able to need to catch up. And, having more years to plan for, unfortunately, there's a study by MOH also that's been done. Actually, it's been shown that, most of us, we live longer, but unfortunately also spend more years in poor health. So that's something we also have to provide for. Okay, so, if we take a look and we think about how much wealth do we need, and let's just take the financial independence goal, for example. Yeah, because that's a big goal. Yeah, even though there are many, many other goals which have to be planned for, let's just think about financial planning goal. Okay, so let's just assume here, same timeline, we are here right now on the left-hand side. And at some point of time, maybe age 55, 60, 65 for most of us, that's where we want to slow down, retire. It's a point of time that we want to achieve financial independence, to stop work if we want to. Okay, and for most of us, financial independence means having a fully paid house, as well as a sum of money that's sufficient for the rest of our lives. So if we think about it and we look at, this timeline from where most of us at right now, as a young working adult, the next 20 to 30 years is a very crucial period of time, because it's when you earn the most, but you also spend the most. And what what you are trying to do is to provide for the remaining 20 to 30 years of your life where you no longer earn, but you still need to spend. So let's just take an assumption, okay, that it could be a couple, for example, or sometimes an individual. Let's say you have a lifestyle of, in today's dollar of about $36,000 a year in today's dollar. If you take it in inflation of 3%, we can inflate that all the way up to about 30 years later, that will come up to about $65,000. And to calculate actually how much we need for financial independence. Okay, so pretty simple maths. We take today's, what you want to do is to take today's lifestyle, right? $36,000, inflate that to $65,000. And then to calculate actually how much you need for the remaining years, you take the $65,000 a year, multiply by 20 years. Yeah, and that amount comes up to $1.3 million. Right? And $1.3 million, it's a huge amount of money that we have to set aside for. And that, that really means it's even more important to start planning early, saving early, as well as investing early. And we know that if we don't do that, not just our financial, it's not just the financial independence goal that we're not able to meet, but many of the goals that we spoke about in the previous slide. And what happens, through life when you are not able to support all of these important life goals? Having financial issues, it can lead to a lot of stress. It can lead to stress, anger. It can, having big financial problems can lead to, affecting career as well. Yeah, especially you have to think about how do you have to make ends meet. It can affect relationships between us and our loved ones. It can break marriages. And in fact, financial problems is one of the top reasons why married couples divorce. So, the top reasons are due to, communication breakdown, which is about 15.4%, violence, about 12%. Actually, financial issues actually come up as the third highest reason why it has led to broken marriages. And if you think about it, if you have either experienced it before or, have lot of people who go through that, actually financial problems, it's a start of many other issues. Yeah. You've heard that it can lead to depression or suicides. It can lead to crime. Yeah, as the saying goes, people kill either not for love or they kill for money. Yeah, and it can lead to lower self-esteem. Yeah, as we see, in this picture here, this little girl, sometimes when in a family where they feel that they don't have enough, it can lower self-esteem because they don't feel, they have enough as compared to their peers, or even as individuals, as adults as well. Sometimes, we are always comparing, right? And we think that we are lesser as compared to other people. Hence, money is really important for us to understand money. As we try to simplify money, let me share with all of us this personal wealth equation. Yeah, which actually at the back of our minds, all of us, know about this. So we first take our income, we minus our expenses, that leaves surplus. And that's the first basic formula that you have to know. Because, if we do not get this first formula right, if we do not have enough surplus, on an ongoing basis, then we are not able to then, accumulate to achieve our goals. And then what we want to do with this surplus is then to grow the surplus. And then we want to multiply, grow this by an X rate of returns, compound that by, a certain number of years that we can grow our money for, and then we'll reach our future goals. If we look at this whole, personal finance equation, it consists of, two sides. There's this left-hand side part. If we look at this left-hand side part, it consists of what we call short-term financial planning. Yeah, and everything that revolves around short-term financial planning is our financial health, budgeting, which I'll be delving into a lot of details tonight, as well as insurance as well. Yeah, then we'll take care of the left-hand side, the short-term planning of things. Yeah, what could cause our plan to fail. Yeah, and then on the right-hand side, we want to look at, what contributes to our long-term wealth building. That's when we are looking at our CPF, which we are actually, all contributing. Most of us are contributing a good amount of savings to CPF, yeah, which grows at quite decent interest rates, as well as investments as well that can contribute to that. But if you look at this entire equation, yeah, what we want to do is to have control over this equation and really treat it like a machine. So what happens is, you want to, try to get this going and repeat this process over and over again on a monthly basis. And we want to have control over this, over our money. Yeah, because, it's odd sometimes, but, sometimes like, we speak to, as I speak to clients and speak to accountants, yeah, when I speak to, when they're accountants, and some of us may be accountants here, sometimes because we spend so much time, at work and we have neglected our own personal finance so much, we find that, for accountants, they may understand, they have such great understanding of their company's finances, but not necessarily their own personal finance. They could remember the numbers of their company's financial statement at the back of their fingertips, but not necessarily their own personal finance. It's important for us, first to have a good control over our finance, because as the Chinese saying goes that, 如果我们不理财，财就会理我. So in English, what it means is that if we don't, have control over money, money will leave us. Yeah. So the first step is for us to take control over that. And for this evening, what I'm going to do is to spend a lot of time on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm going to share with all of us this eighth wonder of the world. Yeah. And as you all know, there is 7 wonders of the world. There is actually this thing called the eighth wonder of the world. Yeah. So for the eighth wonder of the world, for some of us already know, it's called the compound interest. Yeah, and for compound interest, yeah, this is actually how it really works. Yeah, so as a young working adult, we may not actually see it, but this is how it actually works. This is a very simple table. Let me share with all of us. So this is, the savings per month that we are having. So let's assume that, you are saving $200 per month. And let's say you are growing at 6.5% a year. Now you'll find that after 10 years, this will amount to $32,000. But if you continue to save this $200 per month and continue to compound and grow for a longer period of time, this amount will grow, where it's after 20 years, it's at $93,000. And then it will grow further, where after 30 years, it's at $207,000. But we can see the big difference, right? Yeah, if you look at the jump from after 10 years and 20 years, yeah, we can see, yes, almost triple, between after 10 years and 20 years. And we can see the amount actually increases a lot more. Yeah, and that's what compound interest really does. Yeah, and as a young working adult, you may not see it, but actually it would take time and it takes a lot of patience to be able to get there. And looking at this table again, what I wanted to highlight is it's important, for us to see actually what the difference in the amount of savings in a month can actually make a difference to the end amount. So if we are able to save an additional $200 per month and you're able to grow it, at the end of 40 years, you'll be able to accumulate additional $420,000 more in addition to somebody who has not set aside that extra $200 per month. Yeah, and this $200 a month is something that, if all of us dive deeper, it's probably something that, all of us, for most of us, we can probably find that, that $200 a month, especially if you have not taken a hard look at your finances. Okay, so with that, let's talk about, how then to save more. Okay, So what we want to do first is to set up a budget to track your finance. Okay, so you want to first set up a budget because that's actually your plan. And then to do that, I'm going to dive into details as to how to set up a budget. Yeah, but to do that, you may want to first gather all your bank statements that you have. Yeah, to see what kind of transfers you'll be making. You want to look at additional billing statements that you have. Yeah, as well as credit card statements, because all of those, if you are able to put together, gather them for whatever you have for the last, perhaps statements for the last 3 months, or if you can even for the last 6 months, will give you a good sensing of how you can set up that budget. Yeah, if you are doing this for the very first time, just track this for 1 month. Yeah, don't have to. I think just have a start. Just track this for 1 month. Yeah. And then beyond that 1 month, what you want to do is to see how this tracking turns out, and then feed it back to your plan that you set up at the start, and then adjust the budget and expenses along the way. Yeah, if you do it long enough, yeah, which is my own experience as well, it actually becomes part of you, because now you are so familiar with your budget. Every time you spend on something, you will, at the back of your mind, you will know that whether that is actually part of your budget or not. Yeah, and if it's not part of your budget, yeah, then at least you know that this amount of money that's spending on this item is to come from somewhere. Yeah, something else has to be reduced, because if it does not come from somewhere, later on the road, there will be led to a negative consequence. Okay? And you want to repeat that over and over again. So how do we set up a budget? Okay, first you want to estimate your total income, which I think most of us should have the numbers. You want to target your own savings. You want to set your own targeted savings. You want to estimate your expenses as well. And as I shared, you want to estimate using all the billing and statements that you have. Yeah, for a start, especially you're doing this for the very first time. Yeah. Plus, I would also recommend setting aside this thing called the bad mood fund. Yeah, so this is an additional buffer. Yeah, we can set anything aside between say $100 to $300 a month. Yeah, and this bad mood fund is just that let's say you're very bad mood, you don't feel right for that day, you just feel like spending, treating yourself to a nice meal. Perhaps if you're taking public transport, you want to you prefer to take like Grab, for example. If you call it a bad mood fund, this amount you can set aside, yeah, as a buffer to your financial plan. And finally, you want to implement your budget. Okay, so let's go down into how do you start budgeting. Okay, so this is a simple template of how you can go about thinking about your own household income statement. Yeah, so what you want to do is, if for those of us who are married, this is a combination of both husband and wife. Yeah, but if an individual, you can do so as well. Yeah, so what you want to do is to start off from your own gross salary. You want to add on your bonus, and then multiply, on the annual, you want to add this two up, your annual salary plus your bonus, and that will give you your annual gross income. And then you want to take away as well the employee CPF that you have. So this will give you your own take-home salary. And then this will, if you have any other additional income, for example, if you have some dividends that you have, you can add that on. You have a side gig that you're doing yourself, you can, add that on. This will give you your take-home income. Okay, so this is a good start to assuming your income. And then you want to then, move on to the next step. And that is to pay yourself first. Okay, so this is a quick recommendation. A quick guide is just 50% of your gross income. But of course, when it comes to savings, if you're able to save more, do so. Yeah. After setting that 15% of savings aside, what you want to delve into is your expenses. Yeah, and I provided here a quick template. Yeah, for some of us, you may want to screenshot this that you can use so that you want to ensure that you don't miss out certain categories. Yeah, but what you want to do is to allocate all of this down into all of these categories. yeah, to break down into fixed or variable expenses. Okay, and then, you know, in order, so that with that you have already set up your own budget. Yeah, but along the way, as you go through, our daily life, you also want to track those expenses. Yeah, and you want to find a way that you can track best. Yeah, so what are some of these options? Yeah, you can either do mobile apps, and these are some of the mobile apps that are based in Singapore, like Planner B, like Sydney, that started from Singapore. YNAB, or you call it, you need a budget. That's a very popular application in the US. You can try all this, some of these mobile apps if you think that works best. For some of us, you could, tracking finances, tracking expenses, you could just be using your mobile app, where you have the free notes application. You want to just input your expenses on your daily basis, you can do so as well. For some of us, we may prefer to use Excel as well, to put in all of our expenses in there. Yeah, or it could be just a notebook and pen. Yeah, if you prefer that. Yeah, so there's no preferred option really. I would say that in fact it really doesn't matter which option that you take, but I think the option that works best is that option that is one that you will stick with. Yeah, because setting up all of this, if you do not, if that particular option does not allow you to easily, and regularly put in your expenses, then it does not work for you. Then you want to move on to the next one. Yeah, but it's more about having the discipline to put in that expenses. Okay. Yeah. So, now let me go on to the first hack, and I've already shared it earlier. The first hack is really to pay ourselves first. Yeah. So may I just find out, from all of us, if you do pay yourself first, yeah, perhaps you just like to put a Y, yeah, in the group chat. Thanks, Tang Wei. Thanks, Elaine, Alvin, Michael. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so that's about paying yourself first. Yeah. So if you look at the first, we have kind of two format. Yeah. So the first is, if you don't pay yourself first, this is what you typically do. Yeah. Once your salary comes in, you pay your bills, you pay you pay your bills first. With the remaining money, the remaining amount of money, you then spend, and then only whatever is left, then you save. Yeah. On the other hand, this is what paying yourself first really means. With the salary that you have, you want to save first, and then only with the remaining amount of money, you pay your own bills, and then you spend. Yeah. And surprisingly, even doing this simple hack, yeah, it allows all of us to save even more money than we plan to. Yeah, so even though if you already have been doing the first way of spending your money, where you only save the remaining amount. Yeah, if you go on to the second method of paying yourself first, you find that you save even more. Yeah, and this is my own experience, and also been try and study that even in America, where they have all this auto transfer of pay of salary payments to their employees. Yeah, they have this option where they're able to transfer their salary automatically to a savings account. They split up their salary into multiple accounts. For those who have took on that option of saving for themselves first, yeah, and then they only spend from the other alternative account, they find that they save a lot more. Yeah, so this is a psychology effect, because we find that in the first option, if we find that we have a lot more remaining, we actually spend a lot more. Yeah, as compared to saving first. Okay, so this is our first hack. Let me go on to the second hack over here, and we see this long queue over here, and this is by far Singaporeans' favorite pastimes. Yeah, may I just like to find out, from all of us, if any one of us can guess what are they actually here lining up and queuing up for? Yeah. Albert buying bubble tea, Vanessa 4D, Alvin 4D. discount. 4D, Rowan, Janet. Yes, I think most of us have got it right. You're right. Yeah, so in this particular queue, at least, they are all queuing up, for the lottery booth. And they are getting 4D and total. And this is by far Singaporeans' favorite pastime. And we really want to avoid this, especially, if you're thinking about saving money. Yeah, so, let's look at, if you are, we all know of that particular relative, or it could be, if you, yourself would be, putting a punch on 4D and Toto. How are the odds like? Yeah, so I thought I'll show, I'll display it up here. So if you look at 4D, yeah, we can see the odds on the right-hand side. Yeah, so, for those of us not so familiar with 4D, it's where, there are 4 digits and then, you can, put a pun of 4 digits, and then at the end of the day, in fact, 3 times a week, there'll be some prizes that will be given out. So if you look at the odds, it's more of like 1 in 10,000. Yeah, but if you look at the payout, yeah, in terms of wager, yeah, actually it could, be about $2,000 to $3,000. Yeah, as we can see, the odds are not in our favor. Yeah, and for, if we are using, for example, 4D, yeah, as a means to be able to, grow our wealth. Yeah, perhaps it's not the smartest thing to do so. Yeah, because, the odds are really against our favor. Now let's look at, take a look at Toto, and these are the odds for Toto for some of us, who may be interested in Toto. If you look at the odds of winning, actually for the group 1, that's like the top prize where you have all 6 numbers that comes out. Actually, it's 1 in 13 million. Yeah, but if you look at possible winnings, and this is historical, I just look at one of the largest draw, like a Hong Kong draw, because multiple winners win it, right? We can see that the possible winnings are actually much lower than the odds of winning. So what does this mean? Yeah, so it means that, let's say if we turn these games around, and then let's say if I'm going to play a game with you, right, and then I'm going to flip a coin, and then let's say you're putting a pun of $1. And then, let's say if I say that if you guess whether heads or tail, and then if you get it right, let's say you guess heads and you get it right, I'm going to pay you 50 cents, if you get it right, and then your pun is $1. Are you really going to play this game with me? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, so, while there are people who are, having, sometimes placing a pun on this, there are actually people who actually, put a significant amount of money on 4D and Toto. And probably this is not the best way, yeah, to grow your wealth. While that money seems small, we all know that, even having additional savings and growing over a long period of time can compound to a big amount of money. Yeah. So, would you be rather, the question is, would you rather be the person, betting, going to the booth, or you rather be, Singapore Pools instead? Yeah. Okay, let me go to the hack 3, and this is another big expense. Really look out for that shiny car. We know that cars in Singapore are really expensive. But beyond that, actually, there are a lot of additional costs. So if you look, over here at this tabulation of all the costs involved, sometimes, for some of us who are aspiring to own a car, a lot of times it's beyond the cost of the car, like the COE. Yeah, and so forth, and there's a COE and the cost of the car loan, because it comes with a lot of things are like the road tax, like car insurance, like servicing as well. All of those add up. Yeah, in fact, if you look at the cost of car, we look at the total of the cost of car here, the cost of car can easily double. Yeah, so when you look at this car, yeah, especially here in Singapore, because cars are so expensive. Yeah, you want to look at alternative options. Yeah, what about some of these alternative options? If you look at car, if you take, for example, this $173,000, for this really nice, family car, Toyota Corolla, all this, right? If you multiply it, or if you divide it, yeah, across 10 years, you find that it will come up to about $1,400 a month. Yeah, but if you're able to transit that, if you take, like Grab, or even a taxi every day, and let's say if your daily expense on average is $35. And this is just average now because it really depends on weekends if you travel or not, right? If you take $35 and you multiply it by 30 days, that's come up to about $1,000. A lot more cheaper than having a car. Or if you think about public transport, if you're considering, okay, public transport, the savings is a lot more. Or if you want to do a mixture of both private hire and public transport, that is also a significant amount of savings as compared to owning a car. And all of this difference do make a larger difference down the road. Okay, let me go on to hack 4. Hack 4 is called the Latte Factor in terms of how getting all of us to save more money. So this is this Latte Factor was made popular by this author called David Buck. This concept is actually small amounts of money spent on a regular basis. It costs us a lot more than what we imagine. So this is what we spoke about. So for example, his example was actually on latte. $5 a day. If you reduce this to $1 a day, we can see our savings about $4 a day, right? About $120 a month. If we grow this $120 at 6.5% a year over 30 years, that comes up to $124,000. I think that's quite a significant amount of money. It could be easily children's education. That's on the line. It's at stake here. But it's not just latte factor, right? It could be any kind of factor, right? It could be cafe. It's not just latte or coffee, because if you switch latte around, maybe we don't like latte maybe you can switch that to maybe cafe hopping factor, or it could be what bubble tea factor, or it could be like Mr. Coconut factor. Any of this can replace this latte here. But what else? What else is there? That's some of the things that we tend to miss out are subscriptions. And it's well researched on as well that subscriptions actually tend to be left out. So what are some of the subscriptions that we could have? Could be Netflix, it could be Disney Plus, it could be Spotify subscription, it could be an Amazon Prime subscription, it could be a gym subscription, it could be, for example, Speaks Time subscription. Perhaps we don't read the physical papers as much. Or even for myself, I find that I actually don't read the physical papers as much. I only read the digital version. Hence, I switch out to the digital version. But what are subscriptions? Could be mobile plans, broadband plans, utility plans. Perhaps we have forgotten about some of the subscriptions that we have. It's worthwhile to relook at them. Some of the subscriptions do allow us to share with people. That will help us to lower our costs. Sometimes when we go through our credit card bills, to have a hard look at them and see which one of them can we actually either remove or even find alternatives, so that we can reduce that expense on a monthly basis, and those are all going to add up. So that's what we have about reducing expenses. Now let's move on and talk a little bit more about credit cards. So we have all seen this, as we scroll through our mobile phones and the internet browser, we see all these loud marketing messages like get a 28 inches luggage bag, laptop backpack. It could be getting recently a free Apple Watch. It could be free AirPods, for example. It could be just something free $300 in cash. We see many of these ads shouting at us. Or as we visit like e-commerce store, for example, like this one, you'll see that there are actually special promo codes, promotions for credit cards. And let me I think with that, I wanted to share a little bit more about some credit card numbers in Singapore, which actually, kind of startled me. That in fact, about when OCBC released their kind of financial wellness index and they did their survey, in fact, 38% of all credit card holders only pay the minimum sum of the credit cards. 70% of people in Singapore are actually spending beyond their means to keep up with their peers. In fact, back in 2015, which is really not too long ago, there were more than 32,000 people who have unsecured debts that are more than 24 times their monthly incomes. And in fact, as of our latest data here in Singapore, in terms of rollover balance, which means amount of credit card debt that is not paid off, on a monthly basis, consumers in Singapore, they roll over more than 5,000 million of credit card over to the next month. So that's a lot in credit card debt. I want to go into this because, credit card debt can play a very big dent in terms of financial. Let me go through some of this. And a lot of it lies into the fine print, which we may not, we may not always go through this fine print as we sign up for these credit cards. So the first thing is that, the interest rates on credit cards are at 26.8% a year. So it used to be at 24% for a long time. If you do roll over your credit card debt, that's at 26.8% a year. And then, on top of that, there's also a late payment charge. If you happen to miss your payment, and then you have, there'll be an additional $100 that'll be levied on as well. And then if there is an additional interest rate, if the payment is late of 3%. And then, there's a clause here that if, in fact, many of our credit card statements, they'll say that actually the minimum monthly payment that we have to pay is actually 3%. But look at all of this, we may not be always familiar with all of these numbers. But I think the biggest number that stands out really is at the top, this 26.8% a year. That's a lot. If you look at investment returns, particularly at 6%, it's very difficult, for one to even achieve that on a consistent basis unless you really know how to invest the right way. But this credit card charges comes at 26.8%, and then there are also the annual fees. Some credit cards, they do impose the annual fees of a few $100 for you to be able to renew that credit card. So let me share with all of us actually the snowballing effect of the credit card and what does it mean to only be paying off the minimum sum. So for example, if there's just an owing amount of $3,000, everyone pays just the minimum sum. You actually take up to 5 years to repay the entire $3,000 debt. And that, in fact, the total interest that's to be paid on is $1,600. And that is more than half of the amount that's being owed. If we move on to a larger amount, and sometimes credit card debt can snowball. It usually starts small, but then it can snowball really quickly because the interest rates are very high. For an amount at $50,000, it can take up to 13 years to pay off. And then the interest rates, total amount of interest is at $32,000. So credit card is something to be very aware of, especially, we see all of these promotions coming our way. Not all of us are able to manage, credit very well. But if you find that we are not able to manage the credit as well, let me offer some suggestions. First is to reduce the number of credit cards. It's very tempting to sign up promo after promo to have all the cards available just to enjoy a particular promotion, offered by a particular merchant. Because different merchants are offering different, promotions for different particular credit cards at the same time. But first is to reduce the number of credit cards because it allows for easy management. You don't want to miss out paying on a credit card bill. You don't want the banks to charge you, on the annual card fee. Because that's actually a very big hassle. If you want to, you can use debit cards. But I think more importantly is to not be too overly focused on the promotion. Because there's a particular reason why banks are offering up all these credit cards at such, attractive, like I would say return for you to apply for the credit card because they know that you're actually more likely to incur the debt, to pay off whatever price they are giving you over time. Yeah, so if you are aware of that, what you want to do is just to let the promo go. Yeah, it's okay to just let the promo go and really manage, your finances as simply as possible. Yeah, we call it being minimalist, right? Yeah, and how you want to do is to, as we spend so much time in our jobs, yeah, it's very difficult for us to spend the time managing our wealth. So what you want to do is to really automate our finances as much as possible. So what are some of the things that I would recommend? Number one is to really automate your savings. You do want to set up, at least, 2 or 3 different bank accounts, and you're paying yourself first. On the date, let's say if your salary comes in on the 1st of every month, you want to set a standing instruction that on the 2nd of every month, money goes out into that particular bank, and then it stays there. You have, if you want, or what I do, if you want, you can, have no access to that bank account monies at all unless you go down to the bank. Yeah, you can, make that as inaccessible as possible. But what you do is to really automate your savings. Yeah, because, we really don't have time to manage our money. The second thing is that you want to automate your spending as well. Yeah, to avoid all those credit card unnecessary expenses. You want to, automate that. Actually, credit card companies and credit card bills does allow for gyro payments. Yeah, which I would say, not many people know about. Yeah, but you are able to set up a gyro. Yeah, to pay off for your credit card bills. Yeah, you can also, for many of our other expenses as far as possible, you want to set up gyro for that. Yeah, especially if you want to, have a hands-free approach of managing your expenses as possible. And finally, you want to also automate your investing and do go for platforms that provide, those kind of monthly, regular investing that can do so. Yeah, and for MoneyOwl, we do provide for that. Yeah, that, once the money goes into your savings account, you'll automatically be able to invest that. Yeah, because we really, we have so much on our hands. Yeah, on our job, on our families, we really do not have time to manage our monies as much as we want to. Yeah, but yet we want to have control over it. Okay, so that's for hack 6. Let me move on here to the next hack, and that's really to invest as much in ourselves as possible. Yeah, and with that, I would recommend this series of books. Yeah, to get started. These are very easy reads because it allows us to understand, the really important aspects of personal finance. Yeah, most of us, I think some of us who have read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I would recommend that book because it's a very easy book to get you excited, about growing your wealth, managing your finances. All of these books actually give you a good head start in terms of managing your money. Yeah, and learning about it in a very simple manner. So I hope these 7 hacks actually, come in useful for you. Let me move on, to my final segment, and that's really what's the most important ingredients to financial wellness. Yeah, and with that, let's have a thought about how are millionaires really like. Yeah, and there's this book published in 1996 by Dr. Thomas Stanley and Dr. William Danko. They did an analysis of 292 millionaires in the US. Yeah, so perhaps for for all of us, perhaps to aspire to be a millionaire, right? I mean, to aspire to be a millionaire in terms of that, sometime down the road, perhaps understanding about how millionaires are really like, can give us a better understanding of how possible we can be one. Yeah. So this is what they have found out, from Dr. Thomas and Dr. William. They've reported that most of these millionaires, they tend to live below their means. Many were first-generation millionaires, meaning, their parents were not millionaires. Yeah, they accumulated to be millionaires. Yeah, they were the first-generation millionaires. What they did was to allocate a lot of their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways to, conducive to building wealth. Yeah, and that's what I shared about earlier. We really need to spend the effort and time to be able to manage our wealth. Yeah, and they believe that financial independence is actually more important than high social status. Yeah, perhaps not purchasing things in order to look good. Yeah. They did not receive much financial assistance from their parents. Yeah, which means they are all perhaps they accumulated on their own abilities. Their adult children are also economically sufficient, and their children don't depend on them as well. Yeah, and finally, the last line here, which I think is probably one of the more important lines here to think of, is that they took decades to amass their fortunes, and they lived modest lives. Yeah. So for all of us who are joining this event here as a young working adult, yeah, it takes time, it takes patience. Like most of these millionaires, it took time, to amass their fortune. Yeah, but let's think, about money and whether if money always bring more happiness. Yeah, and as these two Princeton University researchers have done, money actually may bring us some happiness, but beyond a magic point, additional income actually does not necessarily make us happier. Yeah. So this point comes in, at about 60, 70,000, about $70,000 US dollars a year. Yeah, but I think it goes to show that, having always more money may not necessarily contribute to our own happiness. Especially, if some of us, we are always, we are contributing, we are thinking our whole lives about trying to make more money and focusing on our careers and neglecting other aspects of our lives. So how do we plan right? Perhaps, planning right is about, not buying things that we don't need with money. Buying things that we don't need with money that we don't have to impress people that we don't like. Perhaps planning right is about having true contentment. Yeah, and this contentment is not that we are resigned to our current state, but it's we are really comfortable with actually what we are currently having. Yeah, perhaps it's about having the discipline to manage money carefully. Perhaps planning right is about knowing that there's life ahead of us. Yeah, there are a lot of things that lies ahead. Perhaps seeing money as an enabler. Yeah, in order to achieve all of these life decisions that we have to make and all these life goals. And really, money is not a goal itself. And as money is about, putting people first, then money, then things, about making life decisions before financial decisions. And so that we can have a beautiful balance between living a meaningful life now and having a fulfilling life in future. And so what we want to do, and this evening, is to spend a lot of time, I think, on the left-hand side of things. How we can, make sure that our expenses are being controlled, because we don't want to be in financial ruins. Because, the converse thing about, the opposite thing of not being poor. Yeah, as long as we ensure that we don't become poor and we ensure that we don't go into financial ruins, is that actually we become rich. Yeah, so we want to focus a lot on the left-hand side, and especially if you're starting out on your financial journey, you find that having that savings is a much more important start than looking for those investment returns. Yeah, because you are still accumulating that pot. Once you have accumulated more of your savings, then the investment returns can really kick in to multiply that effect. Yeah, but for now, whereas the left-hand side is what you should be focusing on first. Yeah, and have full control over your finance. Yeah, because nobody will really, I would say, want to have as much control. Nobody, has more interest over your finance than yourself. Yeah, and really about, it's about planning right. It's about trying to be able to meet all of these life goals that we want to meet. Okay, so if you are keen, I think, on starting out on this financial planning, at MoneyOwl, we do have a comprehensive financial planning service, where, if you go through, you will receive this comprehensive financial planning report where you have, a sit down, you have at least a 2 hours face-to-face advisory time and a dedicated human client advisor, to bring you put through everything together with regards to budgeting, looking at your financial health, your insurance planning and your investment planning as well. Put that all together and then to project towards the various life goals that you have. Yeah, so you may want to explore this over at our website. Yeah, if you're keen on looking at insurance planning as well, you can head on to our website where we do have a wonderful aggregator where we compare. We have more than 500,000 quotes. You are able to go there and within 5 minutes get a great and simple assessment of your insurance planning needs. Yeah, and really, by coming to MoneyOwl, you are also able to receive a 50% commissions rebate. Yeah, if you purchase any insurance with us, yeah, and you get assigned with a dedicated human client advisor, yeah, to be able to assist your needs. Okay, and so that's all for me for this evening. I hope this session has been beneficial for you. Yeah, if you have any questions, I think feel free to either type in to the chat or reach out to us at enquiries at moneyowl.com.sg. Yeah, I'll be happy to get back to all of you. Okay, have a good evening and stay safe.